It's so important to talk about burnout. Burnout can happen whether you absolutely love what you're doing or you're in a situation that's really hard on you. In both situations, you're at risk, which means everybody in this room probably is to some degree at risk. And I want to empower you with understanding it, so if it's happening to you or happens, you know what's happening, and then you know what to do to prevent it and also to heal it if it's happening. So it's overall exhaustion, it creeps up on you, and it's just what naturally happens in the mind and the body if you're trying to do too much. So it's not a sign of weakness at all, it's just what we're designed to do if we've been doing too much for too long. So let's talk about some of the symptoms. And before I do, I want to mention that a lot of them sound really similar to depression. There's a fair bit of overlap. And also there can be medical causes. For example, if you have an underactive thyroid gland. So if any of this resonates with you, I would really recommend that you see your physician and have them check you out before jumping to any conclusions about what's going on. So one of the first signs is loss of interest. Maybe there are things that you used to love to do and made time for, but you just don't feel like it anymore. A big flag is that your personality changes and you feel more negative, more cynical. I once spoke to a group of physicians in Palm Springs, and one of them called me from LAX on our way home. And she said, "I want to thank you so much for teaching about burnout. For years, my family has been telling me that I've become this really negative, grumpy, irritable person, and it makes me feel so bad. And I actually had thought that I had just changed, and this is now who I am. And I realized I'm just burned out. I'm still the same person. And this is the same for you, whether it's depression, whether it's burnout, even if you feel so far from the you that you used to be, you are still that person, and you will be that person again. There are things that you can do. You may work longer and longer hours, but find you get less done. It's extremely frustrating. Also, maybe you were more of a social person before, and now you find that you're avoiding time with people. You just want to be alone. If you see your coworkers off talking, you might avoid them. That's a sign of burnout and also of depression. And a big one is resentment. Let's say that your kids are begging you to go to Disneyland, and normally you'd be the very first person in line at the roller coaster in the morning. But now it feels just like another burden. You don't want to go. You wish they'd leave you alone. Feeling that way, especially about things that you would normally love to do, is a big flag. And I want to share with you an example from one of my clients. I'm going to call her Linda. She was a member last year of my Live a Life You Love Club program. That's a year-long program I do with women from around the world. They come into little groups, and then we work together on different kinds of topics that have to do with the big picture of life. And Linda was a 41-year-old woman, busy career, really well established, quite successful. She's a single mom. She had a son who is 21, and he was in college. And she wrote me saying that she needed to be part of this program because she had no passion for her life anymore. She didn't have a creative bone in her body. What she needed my help with was she wanted to strategically figure out how to just drop all of it and move to South America. I'm totally serious. That was her goal for the year. Not surprising she came to me because of the whole Mexico thing, right? So we'll see what ended up happening over the course of the year. And I'll illustrate it, talking about some common mistakes that lead to burnout, these predispose you, and hidden in these are also the secrets to how to turn it around and prevent it. So one of the things that we all do, I do this all the time, I really have to guard against it, is that when we get really, really busy and overwhelmed with so many things to do, that we start pushing our bodies and our minds without supporting them properly. We'll cut sleep on the edges or maybe not sleep as well because we're so stressed. You might skip meals, grab junk food on the run just to keep fueling yourself. Exercise, who has time for that, right? So that's one of the things that also tends to get pushed to the side. And when you're burned out or when you're working really hard, these are exactly the things that your body actually needs for you to succeed and do your best at whatever it is that you're trying to do. So Linda had better health as one of her goals for the year, and she came up with a really neat idea, actually, because she would get a lot of takeout. She wasn't very good at cooking for herself because she was by herself a lot of the time. And she came up with the idea of signing up for one of those produce delivery services because she wasn't eating enough vegetables. So every week, she would get this huge box of vegetables delivered to her doorstep, and she was quite frugal and not wanting to waste things, so she knew this would force her to eat them all. And she surprised herself, actually, because she started really loving it. She'd have to look up recipes to figure out what to make. She'd invite friends over to try these new dishes. She started to feel so much better. What a wonderful way to solve that problem of not eating enough vegetables. I just love it. She also deliberately started getting more sleep. She started going for daily walks. Started to feel so much better. And this is a fun one. I love telling people this because telling you that you've got to sleep more and eat better, that's not all that fun, and we all know that, but I love this fact that if we don't spend time with the people we love the most, and if we don't have enough fun, that sets us up for a fall. So it's really, really important to make time for these things. They're not just extras, they're necessities if you really want to perform at your best. Now, Linda, she had this crazy social calendar. She had so many things going on. And so what she started doing is focusing instead on the bigger social stuff, she started making dates with friends and the people that were the most important to her, like her son. She also took up salsa dancing, which, I know, and she loved it so much. And something like that is such a great activity because you go out and you do it with other people, so it's social. The music is amazing. It's exercise. You feel like you've gotten out. You get to wear fabulous outfits. So that was wonderful. And so she really was just blooming. This is a huge one. And this is statistically actually a risk factor for burnout, being a yes woman or a yes man. And Linda was a terrible yesaholic. She said, I just invented that word right now, actually. I did. She actually said that the biggest thing she learned in our whole year together was how to say no. And it was really hard at first, and that's why a lot of us never really get past that, because it's uncomfortable. You're letting people down, especially if they're used to you being the hero, the yes woman. And what she found, and one thing that she shared, was that it actually helped at first to text her no's, because then she didn't have to get into the big explanation. She would just text it and run. And it was incredible how much more time she discovered that she had when she actually started saying no to the things she just didn't want to do. This woman who, quote, did not have a creative bone in her body, used that extra time to write a novel. A novel. Incredible. It's amazing. I see it all the time. When you start looking after yourself and you're not in survival mode anymore, it's incredible what will come out of you that you didn't even know was there. And I want to share with you what Linda wrote to me at the end of our year together. Because as you probably figured out, she was just burned out. She said, I have found the space to focus on the things I really want to do. My desire to escape overseas to a new life dissolved. And I found myself living the kind of life I no longer wanted to escape from. So if you're feeling at all like you just want to run screaming away from everything, hang in and try some of these things and see if it doesn't just completely turn it around.